Hello, you're watching PlayStation Access. My name is Nathan, and I'm here with Dave.
Hello.
Dave, we are watching a game which I saw you play today.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is The Swords of Ditto.
Yes.
Which I think was announced at E3 to a little murmur. Some rhubarbing. Because it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that it's a dungeon crawling co-op game in the style of some other very famous dungeon crawling games.
Yes.
There are some really nice touches to it. Your character's just spawned in. Tell us about the Swords of Ditto.
Yeah, there's an awful lot to say, and I'm going to go out on a limb, Nathan. I'm going to say that we are recording this at the end of day one of Gamescom, having seen many games, and this is probably my standout game so far.
Aww.
Certainly one of them. I really enjoyed it. I was very lucky to sit down with one of the developers and play it. So it's a single player or co-op experience. You can see we're playing it co-op. And, you know, that kind of...
I like that this is quite similar to my name, Dittenborough. And also how some people mispronounce my name. It is Dighton rather than Ditton. But if it wasn't, I'd be so up for moving to Dittenborough.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it would make sense. Maybe in the future, if you're very famous, you can start this land.
Maybe I could.
This town.
But I've interrupted you.
Yeah, you have, and I've forgotten exactly what I was saying.
Well,
but
what we're talking about is the fact that there is... because I know... So you've played it, but I know a bit of the basics. You've gone up to the monument here to a hero who has saved the Isle of Ditto previously.
So let's take it back. So there is this basically this island is cursed, isn't it? There's an evil god whose name I've forgotten, who every 100 years awakens and
chosen one comes along.
A chosen one, that's you, comes along and attempts to defeat them and keeping the island safe for 100 years.
This is you learning how to roll.
You're learning all the controls here, or fails to defeat that evil god, and the island for 100 years is under its influence and turns evil. What
I like about this, so they've pitched this game as a dungeon crawler which you can play co-op and takes about 2 hours to complete.
Yeah, so but then the idea is that you would play it many times. So it's not just a 2-hour game as such. It's like, because it's procedurally generated. So every time you play, there are different dungeons, different kinds of puzzle, and also it's persistent in as much as if your hero dies and fails, they're forgotten forever. If your hero succeeds, as you've just seen, then the town builds a statue to them.
And if you fail lots of times in a row, the world state degrades.
Yeah, so as we said, this is a 100-year curse. And we've woken up on a lovely sunny beach and everything's good, and that's because our previous hero was successful. Had they have failed, this world, and we may see a world with a failed hero later on, is gloomy and dark, and it has loads of effects, the kinds of people that are around, the way the town looks, the kind of enemies that are around, the different powers that there are.
I love that.
So I think this is actually quite maybe not ambitious, but definitely there's a lot going on, a lot more to this game than you would think, I think, initially.
Do you know, I felt like it was really nicely pitched, because they were talking about the classic idea of it's accessible to younger players, but at the same time there's enough in there in terms of sophistication that older or more experienced players are still going to get something out of it. I'm kind of eyeing it up to play with, I have an 11-year-old daughter, like that's going to be perfect for me, I think.
Yeah.
And in terms of like taking a little bit of what's, the permadeath and procedural generation of a Spelunky and just saying, hey, we're going to make these worlds and you're going to have one crack at them. And that's really exciting because you're not quite sure what's going to jump out of the mix. But at the same time, there's this kind of 2-hour, which is a nice kind of a slot of a gameplay session, where you can just kind of sit down. So it's casual, but also a bit deeper than that.
I think it's a great idea. I think just like a little let's have a 2-hour sort of dungeon crawl experience. It's like such a cool idea.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it is difficult to play lots and lots of games sometimes. It's hard to find the time. There's a lot to play, and just to have something that that you can enjoy the entirety of, sort of
we should explain. We've gone to see Mormo right at the beginning. This is the bad.
That's the bad god.
And you've been banished. And that's why you need to go to the dungeons to get back for a final confrontation.
Exactly. So we're going to see that there's... we basically have to go dungeon crawling to get, I think, some toys or something.
They call them toys because I think the civilization which has existed on this island, which Mormo is connected to, has like this specific culture
Right.
This was the understanding. Which this is how it was explained to us.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. And I should explain. If this capture looks a bit weird, it's because the game is being explained to us as we go by one of the developers who's sort of talking me through it. And a fun game for you to play at home now is to guess which one of the characters I was, and which one of the characters he was.
I liked. Well, I nearly gave it away there, but I like the one character can throw another.
Yes, that's right.
The classic overhead football throw-in animation of I remember doing that on Landstalkers on the Mega Drive.
Yeah, I remember it well. And we should talk about the amazing art style, by the way, because I was immediately this just made me fall in love with it. I just thought it looks absolutely incredible, just a beautiful sort of, I don't know, really almost like a children's TV show. It take me back to being a kid, but from books as well. It's just a really, really cool art style that you don't really see very often.
There's something about the rolling animation which really reminds me of Adventure Time, which I think is right about where this is. Maybe not quite as out there actually as Adventure Time, but this is pitched similarly.
As you said, I think reaching that sort of audience that children can enjoy it, but also there are things in there that adults can also enjoy, or in fact some things are just in there for adults. It does a really good job of that. And the rolling animation actually is amazing. And I often fail and just roll into walls and things, and even that is quite fun.
You can buy snacks to help you on your journey.
Snacks, it is a classic. I think we're going to see a sticker merchant in a sec as well.
Oh man, the stickers, yeah.
Yeah, so stickers they're not just sort of fun collectibles, they have a gameplay purpose.
They're like buffs.
You attach them, I guess you have sort of slots, don't you? About your person, you have a couple of weapon slots, a couple of slots for each piece of armor that you're wearing, and they're buffs, or they provide effects. Effects, yeah. So I think we find some that give us sort of an invulnerability to fire or increased invulnerability and stuff like that. This is the fast travel system, which is.
This is I dreamt. I saw this, but this is wait, no, I dreamt that, didn't I? The fast travel system is a kazoo.
It's a kazoo with wings there when it's sort of activated. So we're on our way out of town now. We've been rushing through this, and I think we've got a lot of stuff actually that we wouldn't have usually if we'd started the game for the first time.
Right.
You can see at the bottom left and the bottom right there's sort of a D-pad shape with a load of different weapons and things on there. So that's directly related to the triangle button. So whichever of those things is highlit.
It's a bit like a Dark Souls mechanic, isn't it?
Yeah.
You select your thing and then pressing
so
activation button.
There was you can see I've got a bow and arrow, and I think that that's actually linked to that power gauge on the right hand side or left hand side, which is purple.
Yeah.
So you don't really have ammo as much. You don't have a certain number of arrows, but just more an amount of power that you can. Where you find these recharging stations. I was really impressed by how varied the enemies were, and
even on
really
this single run it was
some really inventive kind of ideas. We're going to see a couple in a minute, but just there was an enemy there that you just can't destroy unless you set it on fire.
Again, slime is a classic.
A slime that has to be set on fire. We're going to see an enemy in a second that can only be defeated in pairs, which I thought was a weird but really cool idea.
I did enjoy that.
And I think we're almost at the dungeon now. I can't remember what I was saying before that. Other weapons you can see mapped to the D-pad. There's a bomb, I think there's a torch, and there's a golf club. And these aren't things that you'll start with, and I think you can get different ones as well.
You were using the golf club, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
Is there any specific benefit to it, or is it cool?
On some enemies, it pinged them away. It gave you. So I guess if someone's up in your grill, you can just smash them out of the way and have some time to recover or think about it. So we are into our first dungeon, actually the only dungeon in this piece of gameplay.
Well, they did, and they were explaining that I think that this is a simple switch puzzle, but in this room there are supposed to be obstacles also coloured blue. But in
Yeah.
this room, for some reason, it didn't generate any, and they were going to look into it to see if it was a bug. And it just means that the puzzle is very simple.
This first one is very simple.
Just turn the red off.
You get the idea though, and as we should stress, like this is a game that you're supposed to play through loads of different, again and again, and each time it's different. So not only will the dungeon look different, but the style of puzzle, you won't necessarily get a dungeon where the whole, its thing is that there's a red and blue kind of like switch that changes things. So this is just what we got on our playthrough. So yeah, also I think it's worth saying that this dungeon would be the same if you were playing single player or co-op.
I like that. Yeah, and the idea that it's harder, especially working out, because obviously if one person is able to just stay on the switch the whole time, or even if you're kind of tagging the switch in and out, that makes it slightly easier. But these are all doable in single player.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But trickier.
Yeah, and having said that, in some ways it's easier if you're playing it cooperative. I think we prove several times when we're not really communicating. I'm flicking the switch or something, he's getting hit by some spikes.
I think you've got a classic one coming up right here. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Let's oh yeah, I forgot there was that whole twirling death trap.
Yeah. I mean, so there's benefits and there's also benefits.
Yeah, exactly. if you're a good team, a good co-op team, you're going to be fine. But it does require a bit of communication. And this is just like this is just good classic gameplay. As soon as we got in the dungeon, I was like, oh man, I'm at home. I'm seeing chests. There are like enemies. There's little puzzles. There's switches to flick. There's like, things I've got to light on fire.
It's weird that you didn't do better than really. Isn't
I know,
it?
it's really strange. I don't know. I wasn't on my game. So this is the sticker mechanic we're seeing now. So that's you can see there's a few different slots. We've just picked up a sticker. I'm not sure exactly what that one is.
This is the enemy that you were talking about, where you can't destroy them, but you can.
You have to knock them out,
stun
them,
and then line them up.
You have to pick them up and put them together. I mean, I just thought it was really inventive. It's just so strange.
And those are mines that. I was going to say that you're dancing around. Actually, that wasn't even you.
That wasn't even me.
But, that went badly.
Yeah.
And you've picked up a crystal?
Yeah. So the crystal, it's the classic crystal in a place to make a switch thing. Right. You can see the big red and blue walls. You can fire an arrow through those, which is how you can get around that if you don't have a friend to be on. Yeah,
you can shoot the switches even from the other side.
You can shoot the switches. You can hit the switches. I think we got some more stickers now. So
the screen is very red, Dave.
Yeah, it's not looking good. I don't think that's me again. I think that's
your buddy,
my friend, the developer, who I'm sure he was just showing that it was possible.
Yeah, just showing that
it is harder than he was making it look.
Health mechanic. You can teleport back. I like this because I for one have been lost in many a dungeon. You can just teleport straight back to the beginning.
Yes, you can. I mean, this is the good thing about playing dungeon crawlers in the modern day, isn't it? Is that we've had loads of them in the past to go, I enjoyed that, but what's annoying is when you get to the end room and you need to get back to the start and you just have to backtrack.
Dungeon crawlers that respect my time. That's what I'm here for.
That's what I'm here for.
This was one of my favourite rooms. Even as this was being solved in front of me, I was slightly confused as to what was going on.
Yeah, I got to be honest, I could have used a little while longer of just, wait, can I just see... What is it you're seeing?
There was some instruction. There was can you go here? Now go here. Okay, now I'm doing this.
Just do this. Just pick that up. That's going to do that.
That's the thing.
But this is a classic, isn't it? And especially when I think in a second they're going to start moving.
And I guess if you were doing this on your own, if you wanted to go and get the chest, you just have to run through the level twice. Run through the room twice.
I don't know. Or maybe it's doable. We've not worked it out. I got scared there and I couldn't go across the gap. I didn't want to fail.
No daredeviling from Dave.
No, but this is just a classic, isn't it?
There's something very satisfying about just every step being good and then doing the switch and just they also said that might not happen in the final game. Just being designed so that the coins would explode and fall into the abyss.
Yeah. It wasn't too happy with
not
that.
Not perfect.
But that is the way of seeing games before they're finished, unfortunately. But that will be.
You didn't begrudge him your coins. That's the important thing.
Absolutely.
Mine Town.
So I really appreciate that. Actually, if you're just careful, you can just pick your way through the mines, which I kind of liked. I like that they were, they are what you see. It's not just it's not that whole square that
And
they
you-
occupy. That's
You were trying to throw the crystal to set them off, so
Yeah.
that you could like clear a path.
yeah,
It's difficult though, isn't it?
it is, and I think actually we get a hint or a look at a different weapon here. This map the
Bosh.
triangle. I mean, I
That's
don't know
much
what
better.
that is.
That is
I
a-
don't know what that is.
It's a big thing.
It's like a big, massive fist.
Mace.
I don't know how they've tied that into the game, but it works. I liked it a lot. I was a big fan.
A big fist.
What are we picking up here? A phoenix feather. So that was just in time, I think, because that's going to give him resistance to fire.
And he's on fire.
And he's on fire, so that's
Perfect.
pretty important. Not sure if twirling on the spot does actually put the fire out quicker, but
Well, it's
you
worth
know.
it. It's worth a go. I tell you what, if I was ever on fire, I would give it a go,
yeah, absolutely.
just to be sure. So this is another room. So I mean, the basic progression is doing puzzles,
Yep,
unlocking chests,
yeah,
finding keys,
that's true.
working your way to the end of the dungeon.
Yes. And, it's not obvious where you're going necessarily. You've got a map that you can look at so you can see routes that you've missed. There were quite a few kind of like extra. I think we probably didn't take the most direct route to the end of the dungeon.
There was lots of exploring.
There was lots of exploring, but I mean that's the joy of it, isn't it? And if you take the time to explore, you find more chests, you get more loot. In this case, you get more stickers.
And I guess,
good
I mean,
stuff.
even though I'm not totally clear on whether having loads and loads of stuff is only useful for making your single current, 2-hour-ish playthrough easier, or whether there's like any of that's going to be persistent and will carry on for, whether the sword that they get is going to be any better, or if there are any other items available or that kind of thing.
No, I'm not sure.
We just don't know.
We just don't know, but it's certainly a possibility. Yeah, it's just such an interesting idea. I really, really appreciated the idea of, like, we wanted to make a fun sort of, dungeon crawler that you could just get done in 2 hours. But it's not just, the attention to the kind of detail of giving you a reason to want to do it again and again, and, having your heroes who are completely randomly generated at the start, we should say as well. Like, I think their appearance is just random, so you just get someone who just wakes up one day and it's their turn to try and be a hero. I just thought that was so great that they've built into the world the sort of reasoning behind why you play this over and over again. It's just a really, really cool idea.
And we should also say that's why the island is called Ditto,
That's right.
because it's something which happens again and again and again.
Yeah.
And when they said that, I was kicking myself. I thought, of course it is. Don't be ridiculous.
Makes so much sense now.
So what we're going to see now, Dave, is you finally picking the route that gets you to the final boss of this dungeon.
Yeah. So this is it. This is the final. I mean, that's a good door, isn't it? You want people
If I
to
opened
know.
that door and it didn't go to the end of the dungeon, I'd be sad.
That's what you want from a final door. We've got another fiendish puzzle. I think I have to hit. We've got to hit both the switches, and bosh, we're through.
This is another clever thing, actually. I don't know if we face them immediately. There's your dung beetle friend that we haven't explained.
No, that's right.
Just going to throw that in. But these are... What you have to face immediately are two fallen heroes.
Yeah.
And in the game, they will be taken from... I don't know if it's yours or other people's, but real procedurally generated heroes that have failed.
Yeah, I think that's great. I assume they're yours so that you would recognise them. That would mean something to you, but I think
That
that's
would
like
be
just
better.
a really cool idea. So yeah, they're fallen heroes who failed to win the game on previous attempts.
And talking about failing to win the game...
Yeah, I think I've died. Yeah,
You're
that's
dead,
me.
mate.
I'm dead.
You are
We
gone.
got absolutely smashed. It was suddenly incredibly difficult.
And then 2-on-1 wasn't fair. And although, to be fair, what you're about to see now is a moment of capitulation in order that we could see how the game continues once you have lost in the dungeon. Once your hero falls. So there's a martyrdom going on there in the corner.
Yeah, he sort of agreed to just succumb there. So we failed, unfortunately. And as we said, that means that the island now is under the tyrannous rule of the evil god for the next 100 years. More. Oh, that's the name of the god.
Yeah.
So we failed. So it's time for a new hero to awake, and this is it happening right now. As we said, just sort of randomly generated.
I like that there's a 16-bit looking games console in this hero.
I noticed that. I thought that was really, really cool. It looks like just a lovely... This is like the classic fantasy house. I'd like to wake up
My
there.
hearth.
And I think you're going to see quite an obvious
Yeah.
difference.
That's
in the,
right.
in
The bad
world.
place is like Britain.
It's very wet. Yeah, it's right. This is like Britain in August. It's very wet, as you can see. And the idea being that, this is obviously a very immediate visual kind of cue as to things going bad.
You've made things worse, Dave.
But they were talking about buildings being derelict, the town just looking and feeling like different creatures and enemies about.
But you can get it back.
But you can get it back. Exactly. And also it goes the other way. If you are successful and then on a second run are successful again, the world should get better and better and nicer and nicer.
Well, look, that's our look at the Swords of Ditto. It's a co-op, 2-hour procedurally generated dungeon crawler. It looks like great. It's one of our highlights of the game come so far. Do let us know what you think in the comments, and do stay subscribed to PlayStation Access. We've got loads more coming up.